Hello everyone, I'm Venuka Goyal and welcome to Thursdays with Venuka. So last week we were celebrating 50 ratings and reviews of my first novel, You're Stuck With Me for Life. And I had told you that I will tell you something about this little speedbreaker sign that is made on the cover of this book. So the road trip that Neeti and Ronit are going on their first anniversary in this little red hatchback. The whole itinerary is actually based on a road trip that I went on with my husband about 6 years ago. Right, so we live in this town called Indore in central India, and we decided to visit the Ranthambore National Park in Rajasthan. Right, so that is about 500 kilometers from Indore, and based on the condition of the road and everything, it can take anywhere from 10 to 12 hours to reach there. And that is the upper limit of how much we like to drive in a day on a road trip. We usually try to stick to about 8 to 10 hours of driving in a day. And so we decided that let's not stretch ourselves, and we took a night halt in a town called Kota. So Kota is about 6 to 8 hours from Indore, and then Savai Madhopur is about 3 or 4 hours from Kota, and the Ranthambore National Park is close to this town of Savai Madhopur. So we had booked a resort in Savai Madhopur. But on our way back, we thought that let's be a bit more ambitious about the number of kilometers we drive today. And so we decided that we'll just drive down to Indore in one day. Let's just cover the whole 500 kilometers in one day, which is not such a crazy plan after all because both of us drive. So it's about a 5 to 6 hours of driving for each one of us. And so it's actually pretty doable. But what happened was that we left from Savai Madhopur in the morning, and after a few hours, we were on the outskirts of Kota, and we encountered an evil speed breaker. So what happened was that my husband was driving the car at that point of time, and there was this curve in the road, and just around that curve there was a huge and very oddly kind of made speed breaker. So these days most of the speed breakers on the highways are those small bumpy kind of speed breakers that are rumbler kind of speed breakers. But that speed breaker was just one of those old fashioned, very oddly made kind of a speed breaker. And of course, we were on the highway, so we were driving pretty fast, and we just didn't see the speed breaker coming, and there was no sign. And it was just around a curve, and so we impacted the speed breaker at a higher speed than we should have. And then the car, you know, started to overheat. So what had happened was that the speed breaker had impacted our car in some sort of way, and the radiator of the car had cracked, and the whole coolant had dripped out of this broken radiator, and we simply couldn't drive the car in that kind of a situation. And so well, at that point of time, my husband's uncle used to live in Kota, so we called him and we were like, we're stuck on the highway, and he helped us reach out to a mechanic. And so the mechanic came and he towed the car back into the city, and we ended up spending the night in Kota, and next day the car was fixed and we were able to drive back to Indore. So when I was writing this book, You're Stuck With Me for Life, in Neeti and Ronit's road trip, I engineered the speed breaker on their way from Indore to Kota. Right, so they are also going on a road trip from Indore to Ranthambore, and they are also they have booked a resort in Savai Madhopur, but they have anyway decided that on their way they will take a night halt in Kota. And Neeti has her heart set on visiting a park in Kota. It's a tourist destination. It's called the Seven Wonders Park. And this park has like smaller versions of all the seven wonders of the world. So there's like a smaller replica of the Taj Mahal, and there's like a smaller version of the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and a smaller version of the Eiffel Tower, and so on. And Neeti wants to see the sunset in front of this, smaller version of the Taj Mahal, which is in the Seven Wonders Park in Kota. But Ronit was being lazy in the morning, so they ended up leaving a bit late, and now she's not sure if they're going to reach the park on time. And at some point of time during the journey, Ronit decides that, well, she's my wife after all. I have to spend so much time with her. It'll be better if she's in a good mood. So let me try to reach this park on time. And so he's trying to drive pretty fast. But about an hour away from Kota, they encounter this evil speed breaker, okay? And the radiator of their car breaks, and now they cannot drive the car anymore. And Neeti is just really, she's feeling angry, and she's feeling agitated, and she really wanted to reach Kota before sunset, and now with the broken car that's just not going to happen. And so she freaks out and she starts yelling at Ronit. She's like, why are you driving so fast? And why didn't you wake up early in the morning? And of course Ronit is also angry. He's like, I don't have time for this. Why are you yelling at me? Because he's also agitated, because he will have to call the mechanic and figure out the whole thing now, and his car is broken on the first day of the road trip. That's really annoying for him. So this evil speed breaker happens in the book, I think in chapter 9. And so I'll read you a few lines from the beginning of chapter 10. So how is Ronit feeling after this whole encounter with the evil speed breaker has happened? So chapter 10 is from Ronit's point of view, and this is how he feels. I'm standing on the highway, practically in the middle of nowhere, with potato chips in one hand and a bottle of water in the other hand. My car doesn't work, and this woman has suddenly decided to sprout a temper. What a way to celebrate my wedding anniversary. But really, where is all that attitude coming from anyway? First, she wants to see that ridiculous park. Then, she wants to control my vacation and make it into a military drill. And then, she wants to yell at me for breaking my own car. Who breaks their own car? Obviously, it was an accident. And who yells at the victim of an evil speed breaker? That too, a victim who is shortly going to have to shell a significant amount of money to fix the damned radiator. This is practically inhuman. So as you can see, Neeti and Ronit's road trip is not getting off to a very good start at all. And so to find out more about what happens on this road trip to Ranthambore, do Neeti and Ronit find love on this road trip to Ranthambore? Read my book, You're Stuck With Me for Life. So thank you for watching this video, and next week I'll tell you something more about this book. Maybe I'll tell you a little snippet of what happens when they actually reach Savai Madhopur, which is the town close to Ranthambore, right? So I'll see you next week, and until then, goodbye.